If you reach for a bath salt when you have eczema, you're essentially soaking in a giant pot of pasta water. And then you wonder why your skin feels tighter and itchier than before. The right salt isn't even expensive. Hi, my name is Stefan Rieder, and I've been dealing with atopic dermatitis, eczema, and acne since childhood. Over nearly 20 years I've tried everything, until a few years ago I found a way to significantly stabilize my skin. I'm not a doctor, and this is not medical advice. My background is in engineering and physics. That's why, when it comes to the key questions, I look at the data and tell you honestly what helps and where there's no clear answer yet. And that's exactly what we're doing today with Dead Sea salt. In this video, you will learn how Dead Sea salt differs from the sea salt in your kitchen, why you can't just replace Dead Sea salt with a bath salt labeled magnesium plus calcium, and how to use Dead Sea salt quickly and affordably for your skin. Dead Sea salt has always intrigued me. A natural product used for millennia, there has to be a wealth of experience behind it. So I decided to look into it. And sure enough, the history of the Dead Sea as a therapy destination for skin goes far back into antiquity. The ancient physician Galen praised the Dead Sea nearly 2,000 years ago as genuine medicine. He valued its drying and healing properties and even recommended it for sealing bleeding wounds. I don't know about you, but whenever I hear big words like medicine and healing properties, I get skeptical. So, what is Dead Sea salt actually made of? And what makes it so special? To get to the bottom of this, I looked at the scientific review by Even Paz and Shani, and that's where I came across this table. The first shock, the total salt concentration, meaning how many grams of salt are dissolved in total per liter of seawater. In the Mediterranean, that's about 35 grams. But in the Dead Sea, an incredible 300 grams. Picture that. 300 grams, a whole drinking glass full of salt, in every single liter. That's 8.5 times the concentration of the Mediterranean. And this is the point almost everyone overlooks. It's not just about total salt concentration, it's about the different salts it consists of and their proportions. When I first saw this table, it was clear to me. This is not normal salt, and honestly, after years of trying what felt like every product with helps with eczema on the label, this was the first time I thought, okay, there might actually be something to this. When we talk about salt, we immediately think of regular table salt. For the Mediterranean, that's accurate. It's almost entirely sodium chloride. You're essentially lying in a giant pot of pasta water. The Dead Sea? Completely different picture. Yes, the Dead Sea contains about 3 times more table salt in absolute terms than the Mediterranean. But relative to the enormous total, it suddenly plays only a minor role. More than 2/3 are magnesium, calcium, and potassium salts, minerals that barely exist in the Mediterranean. This isn't really salt anymore. It's a highly concentrated mineral solution that exists nowhere else on Earth in this form, and it's precisely this profile that makes it so interesting for your skin. But if you look closely at the data, you'll find a real mystery. Add up all the known salts in the Dead Sea, and you only reach 271 grams, not 300. This gap of 29 grams tells us the analysis hits its limits here. There are simply many more minerals and trace elements in there that haven't been fully captured, but now it gets contradictory. This is where I genuinely paused in my research for the first time. Carbajo and Maraver describe in 2018 that salt water draws moisture out of the skin through osmosis, a natural suction effect. Brocksch and colleagues, on the other hand, show in 2005 that Dead Sea salt actually improves skin hydration. How can salt both harm and help at the same time? The answer lies in what we just saw. Regular sea salt is sodium dominant. Dead Sea salt is magnesium dominant. And it's precisely this magnesium that can help bind moisture in the skin. So, magnesium is the key. Case closed? Not quite. The deeper I dig into the research, the stronger my feeling that the Dead Sea still holds more secrets. We shouldn't look at the components of Dead Sea salt in isolation. There are likely many more effects on our skin than any single salt can explain on its own. A quick switch to physics mode. 3 sentences, I promise. Researchers Krumgals and Milero tried back in 1982 to apply the standard physics of the world's oceans to the Dead Sea using the equation of state, only to realize it just doesn't apply here. The ionic strength of the Dead Sea is roughly 14 times higher than in normal seawater. It wasn't until they expanded the equation of state to account for the complex interactions between the particular salts that Dead Sea water finally became calculable. So Dead Sea water isn't a static mineral bucket. A bit of magnesium here, a bit of calcium there. It's a highly complex, dynamic system with a unique profile of minerals and trace elements. When you bathe in Dead Sea water at home, your skin isn't just interacting with individual salts, it's interacting with their unique interplay. Of course, you're not pouring 300 grams of salt into every liter of bath water at home. On top of that, Dead Sea salt is a natural product. The exact ratio of minerals always varies slightly. It depends on where at the Dead Sea and how the salt was harvested. That's why a bath at home isn't the same as the Dead Sea water on site. And I remain skeptical anyway. A visit to the Dead Sea brings entirely different effects, such as UV radiation, the sunlight, the desert climate, the bromine-rich air, the microorganisms in the water. The entire ecosystem simply can't be replicated one-to-one in your bathtub at home. Since the salt concentration in your home bath is going to be significantly lower than in the actual Dead Sea anyway, it's already hard enough to come close to this complex interplay of ions. Now at this point you're probably asking yourself, okay, but if the salt water in my bathtub is much less concentrated and the entire ecosystem around is missing, is there actually any concrete benefit to using real Dead Sea salt in everyday life? Fair question. And whether there's measurable data on this diluted home bath, we'll get to that at the end of the video. I've thought long and hard about how to bring the Dead Sea into my daily routine most effectively. An important note up front. This is my personal routine, not a general recommendation. Never apply a solution like this to acutely open, weeping, or severely scratched skin. It stings like hell. Whether it's right for your skin is something you need to decide yourself or discuss with your doctor. Here's what I do. I weigh out 5 grams of Dead Sea salt on a precision scale and fill it up to 100 milliliters with water in a measuring cup. That's significantly more concentrated than a typical home bath. I then apply the solution to my face with a cotton pad. For me, the skin feels soothed, smooth, and well hydrated afterward. Using a cotton pad is not only easier on the wallet, but also more sustainable. The Dead Sea is a severely threatened ecosystem. Scientific reports show that the water level has been dropping dramatically for decades. The inflow has been massively reduced by water extraction, while water keeps evaporating constantly. But is there an experiment showing whether Dead Sea salt provides measurable benefits for atopic dermatitis? That's exactly what a study investigated, and we'll look at it together in the next video. One thing is important to me. Today's topic is just one small piece of the puzzle. Skin problems are multi-causal. From nearly 2 decades of personal experience, I see the biggest lever in a holistic approach that includes easily digestible nutrition, targeted supplementation, exercise, mental well-being, skincare, but also your individual factors like allergies and intolerances. If you'd like to walk this path with me, between the solid hard facts and my own personal experience, then subscribe. It helps me tremendously to keep diving this deep and breaking down these findings for you. I know how exhausting it can be when you feel like you've tried everything from elimination diets to creams and shampoos and your skin just won't stop burning and itching, and how much of a burden it is when your thoughts are constantly revolving around your skin. If you'd like personal support, I offer individual guidance complementary to your doctor. Important, my guidance does not replace medical treatment. You'll find my contact details right below in the video description. Take care, Stefan.